All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of hashtag CB99 Talks. This is episode 88. Of course, I'm Combo Breaker 99. All right, y'all, welcome back. I'm back a little early with another episode because, there's a lot to talk about. Of course, I'm going to condense this thing down. I'm not going to be on here too long, in this recorded episode. But yeah, I just wanted to, come back ASAP because, I want to do a post-fight show, discussing the whole weekend, this past weekend, Bellator, UFC, and of course there was some LFA fights as well. So I just want to go back and revisit all of that this episode and just kind of give you my thoughts, on some different situations. So yeah, back again with another one. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Y'all spent it with me Saturday watching a few of these fights, and I think for the most part I enjoyed the weekend. I enjoyed Friday. Even though Friday we had a bad call, which we'll talk about a little bit here again, Bellator 278. We talked about that already, but, in this episode, I want to go in a little bit more, but I won't, go on a big rant this time, right? So, yeah, this episode, I want to go back, discuss LFA 130 a little bit. That took place on Friday, Bellator 278, 279, and, of course, the main event between Lemos and Andrade. And in between, we got to talk about Barber and De La Rosa and what's next for both of these fighters, right? So, yeah, man, like I said, good weekend, Friday, Saturday, everything was solid. I feel, of course, aside from some performances and aside from, a bad call by the referee, in my opinion. But, we'll get through it, man. We'll get through it. So, looking back at LFA 130, had a couple of good fights there, the women are moving up as well there, man. Two good strawweight fights. I think, what was it? Marnick Man, Kelsey Arneson was a co-main event there. And before that, you had the third from the co-main event. Third from the main event, which was Hillary Rose and Tiana Ballet. So, yeah, WMMA has been picking up. I still think that there is a market where I still think there's a big fan base in the MMA world that doesn't like WMMA, and it shows, because it shows on my channel. Sometimes I have people come through and say they can't stand WMMA, they can't stand women fighting. Or if you look at the UFC YouTube channel, if you look at some of the videos, people always comment, I don't like the women fighting, the women, I get up and go get a beer during the fight, or, I go to sleep, or, it's putting me to sleep. Even like with Andrade and Lemos, some people were just like, oh man, this is a snoozer. I'm like, for real? For real? Somebody's going to get put to sleep, but the fans should be awake of all people, right? So I'm just like, sometimes I don't listen to these fans, but I'm just saying, like, y'all got to give the women a chance. Like, I have my views on men and women, and, there is a difference between men and women, and I still have old ways of thinking with certain things, but that's, that's me personally. But when it comes to self-defense and when it comes to competing and fighting, as long as women are fighting women, and men are fighting men, and women are competing in women's sports, I think everything should be all good. I think you should respect that. You know what I mean? And I think that everybody that likes men's MMA, hey, you might not like the women, but you still have to respect them because they're doing something you can't do, right? They're doing something you can't do, and I think you have to show these women that type of respect, just like you do the men, right? So with that being said, shout out to Hillary Rose. She was able to score a second round rear naked choke over Tiana Valet. Seen a couple of their fights, well, I'm a little bit more familiar with Hillary Rose. She's a very, very good fighter in the LFA. This was her first win, but I've seen she works hard. I've seen her before. She works hard. She's a pretty good fighter on the ground, decent striking, and that's what she was able to use in this fight against a tall, long striker in Valet. She was able to get this fight down to the ground, wear down her opponents in both rounds using her jiu-jitsu, ground and pound, until she was able to get a rear naked choke. First round, Rose, she was backing up Valet behind the jab, and she was able to catch a kick, get a takedown, and that's where Rose wanted to be. She kept it right in the half guard working. Valet, she just had trouble on her back. It's like she's never really been there. She's still up and coming. She's still young. Rose got a full mount, worked that ground and pound. Valet was able to buck and get a top position in that last minute, but it was really Rose's round. Then going into that second round, Valet, she wanted to stick and move, but Rose, she quickly latched on. She wanted to stick and move. She quickly latched on, pulled the fight back to the ground, just really softening her up with a a lot of good elbows. She was really hitting her with some good ground and pound, just putting that weight on Valet, taking her out of the fight. Finally, Rose got that ground and pound, forced her to give up her back, and she was able to flatten her out and get that rear naked choke. So, yeah, shout out to Hillary Rose. I think she's been growing. She's like 29. She's been trying to improve, and it's definitely showing in her game, bouncing back from a loss. Marnik Man versus Kelsey Arneson. This was a good fight. This was another good fight on the card. You have Kelsey Arneson. She's a big fighter. She's got the height, got the reach, big. She's strong. She's kind of ripped too as well. Marnik Man. She's a little tank. I got to give her a lot of credit the way she was able to handle such a big fighter like this. But it all comes down to strengths. You know what I mean? Like, Arneson gave up her height a lot in this fight, and I think that's where Marnik Man was able to succeed, landing some good shots every time. Arneson would drop her hands, she would land a good right hand, and then eventually, Arneson would want to push the fight on the inside, and then boom, the little tank would take her down and, put that strength on her. She won by split decision, Marnik Man did, but, I could clearly say there was a clear winner here. Should have just been a unanimous decision. Arneson, she's rough and tough. She was able to try to push that fight, but, Man just clinched up, was able to take her down. Arneson, she ate some hard shots in this fight, too, in the first round, but it was Man who got the takedown, was able to get some work in on top position in that first round. Then Arneson, she used her length and pressure early to try to back up Man, but she wanted to get the clinch with a compact, strong fighter, and I'm just like, that's a bad idea because, again, Man takes her down. Arneson, she was able to lock in a guillotine attempt, but it was unsuccessful. So Arneson, she was trying her best to, really control this tiny, compact fighter instead of, keeping it standing on her feet. Now, Arneson did lock in another guillotine tip and roll to the top, and I think she did have some good moments here. She was getting some good ground and pound in. So I would say that the second round did go to her. Arneson won the second round. Man won the first round. Going into the third round, I think Arneson, she came out smart using her length, but her hands were low. So Marnik Man stung with a good right hand, was able to clinch back up. And Arneson, she was landing some nice body shots, but, man, she's just a good grappler, man. She got a big takedown this round, taking the big fighter off of her feet like that, big, strong fighter. And she was able to mount Arneson and just work her and get the back. Arneson was able to reverse and get the top, but it was like really back and forth grappling here. But I had to give Man the edge. She was just working and finishing much stronger in this fight. So it was like a 2-1 fight, but good competitive fight. Marnik Man, she's one of those young fighters on the come up, still growing. So we'll see what's next for her. If she probably challenges for the belt, maybe like a couple more fights. So we'll see. Yeah, good night over at LFA. Let's see, who else do we have fighting? Let's talk a little bit about the undercards on 279, because we had like 5 women fights on the Cyborg Blencowe card. Let me see. We had Diana Silva. She was able to win a unanimous decision on Saturday over Janae Harding. Diana Silva was just I feel like she was just a much stronger, sharper striker here. Janae Harding, she was landing shots, but she really couldn't get the respect. Like, she landed a few good body kicks here and there and good jabs, but it was Diana Silva who was really landing good left hooks. Like, she was using her timing as well. Every time Janae Harding would stop, she would land good hooks, land good right hands, just landing the all-around better, stiffer punches, So I could see how she won it, 30-27. Janae Harding, she was using her footwork, but the problem was, she was just stopping and moving, side to side, and that's where Diana Silva's timing just came in. She was like, okay, every time she stops, she's not going to move her head and she's not going to pump out, a high volume of shots here, So I'll wait till she stops, boom, catch her with a left hook, right hand, back her back up again, get her on the move, So Diana Silva, she definitely won that fight. So that, definitely drops Janae Harding down the rankings. So we'll see Diana Silva versus Pam Bam. Hey, that might be a good fight, right? Or Sinead Kavanaugh, or Diana Silva versus Leah McCourt. Yeah, that would probably be a good match. Going down the list, who else was on this card? Samiko Inaba, I think she was. Hold on, let me pull up these results here for y'all, because I just want to run through these, because I want to talk about the more of the underground fights first, the ones that not many people knew about. So I want to do all these at the same time. Bellator 278 just had one, and that was Velasquez and Carmouche. Just one WMMA fight. So I'm going to jump to Saturday. Let me see. Who else do we have on? Bellator 279. Let me see. Diana Silva. She was able to beat Janae Harding. Then you had, let's see, Sumiko Inaba. Yeah, she was able to score a first-round knockout over Whitney Piles. Good left hook. I saw that in the replay. And she was stepping in. She landed a good left hook. So that puts her at 4-0 now. So you got Sumiko Inaba, Diana Avseragova, Valerie Laredo. You know, all those young up-and-coming prospects in Bellator. Still have a long way to go, in my opinion. You know, at 3-0, even if she does, like, break the rankings, you know, like Diana Avseragova is like 4-0 or 5-0, they still have a long way to go. They still have a long way to go before they can get to like Juliana Velasquez or Carmouche, because we're talking about you got UFC veterans up in there, right? Kate Jackson and them, Denise Kielholtz, you know, Bellator kickboxing champion, right? So yeah, shout out to Sumiko Inaba. She was able to get her win. Oh yeah, Randy Field. Randy Field was able to get a second round rear naked choke over what's her name, Mariah Miller. Yeah, Randy Field, you know, I've been checking her out a little bit. You know, she's a good scrappy fighter, you know, has a pretty good backstory, you know, about her coming up and, you know, getting into the fight game. Definitely one of the young fighters to watch out for. I think their fight was like at a catch weight. Yeah, I think I talked about that the other day. It was like at 120 or something like that. All right, so had them on the card. And then let's backtrack and let's talk about I tell you what, let's go to the next topic here now, because I just wanted to run through those up and coming fights. So yeah, shout out to all these young ladies that are on the come up. Hillary Rose was able to get her win, or like I said, over Tiana Valet. Marnik Mann versus Kelsey Arneson. All four of these women, you know, they're in there grinding, they're working hard. Diana Silva, Janae Harding, Whitney Piles, you know, she can bounce back from that loss to Sumiko Inaba. Randy Fields versus Mariah Miller. And, yeah, you probably see a lot of these fighters, you know, from LFA coming to the UFC one day. They're probably going to compete in the Contender Series sometime, right? So I said, yeah, man, like the women, they got a lot of good fighters, you know. Like you got a lot of hard workers here. I mean, they go into the same gyms to let the men work in. So, hey, if they're working out with some of your favorite men's fighters, you got to respect them, right? You got to, you know. So, yeah, next topic here. We got some UFC veterans invading the Bellator flyweight division. That's what it is. That's the next topic, man. UFC vets invade Bellator's flyweight division. It's been a crazy weekend like that. I mean, I didn't really have a pick for Alima Lay versus Justine Keach. I just wanted to see that one play out. But Juliana Velasquez versus Liz Carmouche. Shout out to Liz Carmouche. Look, I don't agree with Mike Beltran's decision, but I got to give credit for Liz Carmouche. I mean, I can't take away from her performance. I'm taking away from Mike Beltran's performance. I think that the fight should have played out, but she did what she had to do. She made it a competitive fight. She showed you that, look, I'm taking chances now. I'm going to capitalize on my strength and my ground game, and I'm going to take this work. I'm going to take this work and put it on Juliana Velasquez, and I'm going to give it to her. You know, that's what she did. I mean, it was a very good competitive fight, and I think in some ways when I watched the fight second time, if the fourth round had ended, I think it could have been 2-2. I really do. I think it could have been 2-2. The first round, though, it was close. So I did watch it the first time and say, okay, at the end of the fourth round, I would see it 3-1. You know, so it was going to be kind of a competitive fight, but the momentum started to go in Liz Carmouche's favor, right? It started to go in Liz Carmouche's favor a little bit, you know, when she ended it the way she did. And if the referee would have let it get up, then I think, you know, Liz Carmouche, she could have picked her momentum in the final round, and Juliana Velasquez could have had her chance to make adjustments. But, you know, Mike Beltran said, oop, that was it. You know, that crucifix was too much in his eyes. But, I mean, from the angle I had, I thought that Juliana Velasquez, she looked fine. She was still coherent. She only took maybe like 2 or 3 heavy blows, but the rest were just like forearms rubbing the forehead. She was still trying, like the left arm wasn't really like secured and locked in, like Valentina versus Andrade. You know, Andrade was helpless in that fight, right? I was like, it's time to stop it. But this one, I was like 14 seconds, 13 seconds, 12 seconds. I was like, okay, she's good. She's good. Then I was like, oh, no, what's he doing? I was like as shocked as Juliana Velasquez was. So I just didn't agree with that stoppage. But like I said, Liz Carmouche, she was bringing a lot to the table in this fight, a lot of experience, and that's why I was kind of like, it might be a boring fight because they're both going to be cautious. But I was like, I'm going to go with Velasquez, but I could see Liz Carmouche winning this fight because she's just bringing the UFC level. And the UFC level, whether you left the UFC on a 3-4 fight losing streak, you take away a lot from that coming into Bellator. You're taking away a lot from what your experience from the UFC, and then you're bringing a lot to the table in the Bellator flyweight division or whatever division it is, right? Because you face the best fighters. That's what the UFC does, right? The UFC tries its best to sign the best fighters for the most part. I mean, sometimes they might sign some premature people, some hype trains here and there, but for the most part, when you're looking at somebody like Liz Carmouche, who's been with the UFC since they started signing women, right? Of course, since she was in the very first women's UFC main event, Ronda Rousey, right? She's going to bring a lot to the table here. She's been in there with the best of them. Who else she been there? She's been in there with Jessica Andrade, Liz Carmouche, yeah. And, of course, Valentina Shevchenko, Ronda Rousey, and her, the list goes on with Liz Carmouche, right? So not only that, she was coming down from 135. She's a big, strong fighter, right? I know the Valentina fight wasn't really much to go off of, but Carmouche brings a lot to the table here. So her coming into the fight with Velasquez, she was going to show her another level, and she did. I think Velasquez, for the most part, was winning the stand-up battle, and she was able to still expose the defense of Velasquez and how she could make her back up and just kind of not really like shield up, but just kind of like flinch up, and she could land that left hand over the top and drop her. So Velasquez was bringing her own levels to the game. Like, she had enough to compete, but the thing is, this was another level that I think Velasquez has never seen before, and that's what made the fight so good. And I think that's why it turned out to be more explosive than it did, because Carmouche was willing to take a chance with this champion and say, no, this ain't happening like it did with Valentina. No, this ain't happening like it did with Ronda. I'm taking chances. Velasquez is not on their level, and I think I'm better than her. That's how it came. That's how she came to the table, right? I mean, there was, like I said, some moments where I thought Velasquez was going to stop her, but Carmouche, she stayed in the fight. She weathered the bad parts, the stormy parts, and she got the fight to the ground where she wanted it because she knew Velasquez was more uncomfortable there. And she was just in that top position where, like I said, I can't blame her. She's just going to keep working, doing what she's doing to make her opponent look defenseless. And if the referee calls it, boom, it's good for her, right? So, yeah, like, I've watched it from different angles now and, watched it a couple times, and I'm just like, it could have went on. It could have went on, in my opinion. I think the referee, he just kind of jumped in a little too soon. And, like I said, it can be a situation where you can let it play out. And if that person takes too much damage, then you stop it. Or you can anticipate it. Like we talked about in my live the other night, sometimes people will say, I want to avoid the big blow happening, so I'll stop it, because we don't know what happens if the big blow lands. Or sometimes referees, they can let a couple of big blows land, and if they don't answer, then they stop it, right? And I think Beltran, he was going with the first, but this is a championship fight. This was a championship fight, and I think Velasquez, she's tough. She could take a couple of elbows, and she would feel comfortable with it, knowing that she got stopped legit, right? That's the type of fighter I think she is, and I think that's owed to every champion. They really don't want to live with that what if, especially if the situation isn't as bad and they weren't getting beat down in the first place, right? So it is what it is now. Liz Carmouche said she doesn't want to give an immediate rematch. And like I said, I would like to see one, but, Velasquez didn't give Quijos an immediate rematch. You know what I mean? So I was kind of smiling at that, because I think Quijos did earn an immediate rematch, because the best have to fight the best. And I think I was feeling like at the time, the best at the time last summer was Holtz and Velasquez, and then Liz Carmouche was in there, putting work in, getting her way there. So they were the best of the best. And then you could say Alima Lay, since she just lost the belt too, but she was kind of out of the game. So I think that with the way things were going and, Bellator just being inactive, they could have went on and put together another fight between Holtz and Velasquez because they were the best of the best. But her saying she didn't want to give her an immediate rematch kind of told me that, you kind of feel like you were losing, right? So now it's that situation here. Liz Carmouche doesn't want to give an immediate rematch. Hey, what can I say? Right? What can I say? I still think Velasquez was kind of cheated out of her belt, but I can't blame Carmouche on that. I blame referee. Liz Carmouche did what she had to do, right? So, yeah, shout out to the new champion, though. Shout out to Liz Carmouche. She's been in this game for a minute, and I'm glad to see that she could finally get a belt, though. I'm finally glad to see she could get a belt. It's been a long road for her, all right? Moving on. Oh, yeah. Once again, another UFC veteran. She comes in to schools another former flyweight champion, Alima Lay McFarland, Justine Keech. Shout out to Justine Keech. I mean, Justine Keech really looked sharp, strong, very hungry in this fight, very creative. Like I said that night, man, she was hungry. She hadn't eaten in 3 fights, meaning she was on a 3-fight losing streak, give or take a fight, right? And she was hungry. And McFarland was looking like a McFarland with cheese, a double McFarland with cheese. So what did Justine Keech go in there and do? She went in there and ate. She ate every round. I think Alima Lay had a good first round, but for the most part, Justine Keech just went in there and showed who the stronger fighter on the ground was. Not just her wrestling, but her grappling as well. Everybody thought that Alima Lay was the better wrestler here, but Alima Lay actually turned out to be the better striker. It was almost like a bizarre world here because I thought Keech would be better on the feet and piece up Alima Lay McFarland, whereas Alima Lay would try to have success on the ground, but it went the other way around. Alima Lay had success on the feet, so Justine Keech, when that fight would close in because Alima Lay wasn't using her IQ, she wanted to take the fight to the ground knowing she was winning on the feet. Justine Keech was muscling her, boy. She was really putting it on her. I mean, the first round, Alima Lay was trying to switch levels, go for the takedown, but right away you can see Justine Keech was a stronger fighter. I saw the strength difference right there, the way she was able to put McFarland against the cage, get control on the ground, and just clinch up and muscle McFarland muscle her to create separation. McFarland, was actually doing well, like I said, at a distance, at moments, using that right hand, keeping the pressure off. Keech, she was actually making Alima Lay respect her the more she came in, just by kind of pushing her around. And like I said, creating that distance. Keech looked big. Keech looked big in there. She definitely was a stronger fighter. I mean, I gave that first edge. I gave the first round to McFarland by an edge just because I thought she landed the better strikes. She was landing some good shots in there. But the pace was definitely favoring Keech. It was definitely going in her favor. I mean, Keech, she started to stand more with McFarland. McFarland was landing those sharp left hands and rights, but then McFarland was going for the takedown, and that's where you see Keech taking over. She was using that guillotine to kind of slow down McFarland, just out-muscling the ex-champ. McFarland, when Keech tried to escape McFarland, she tried to lock in that leg lock. There was a point in that second round too, but I don't think that was enough to get the round. Keech, she was just stronger with the grappling, and she was able to escape, go back to top control, mauling McFarland to win the round, just really putting strength on her and laying her on her back. The third round, McFarland, she just wasn't there. She wasn't really going for it. I think Keech, her movement was too much. She was sticking and moving. Finally, McFarland, she did drop Keech with a good right hand. I thought it was about to be over there. I thought she was going to, level up, but whenever she ate that right hand, Keech quickly recovered. I mean, she quickly recovered. She picked McFarland up, slammed her, got in that side control, and just out-wrestled her and just put the strength on her. I mean, just all-around good work. And, I mean, Keech even tried for an armbar. So I was like, wow, you can really see, like, the levels here from coming over from the UFC. Like, even some of, like I said, the fighters that don't make it to the top, that are unranked, they're still bringing in game. You know what I mean? Something that these Bellator fighters aren't used to. They're really in the trenches like that. So Justine Keech, she put the work in, man. I thought she won it 2-1. Um, Unfortunately, I think Elimelech McFarland, I need to look more into this. Maybe I'll do a video, but I think she hurt her neck. I saw the picture where they were carrying her away in the ambulance. They had her laid up, kind of had that neck brace on her, and I was like, oh man, like what round did that happen in? If somebody knows, let me know. But I'm gonna look into that a little bit more. Because I just saw it today. Well, I just saw it yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to really sit down and read into that, But I don't know if it came from one of those slams or if it was like a reoccurring injury or what, right? But yeah, it's a tough game, man. It's a really tough game out there. And I think Elimelech McFarland having that long layoff, kind of taking the fight out of her a little bit. Maybe she thought she was ready, but still wasn't. She's been having a nice, time just kind of doing the commentating thing, doing other things. The question is, I know some people says she should retire. I think that's always up to the fighter, of course, but I don't think she's on like a bad track record where she needs to retire. You know what I mean? I mean, the fights are going to be tougher from here because I think she doesn't really have that level like some of these other fighters, like, of course, like Liz Carmouche and like Denise Kielholtz to just bounce right back. I just didn't really see that in her. Like even with Kielholtz, just staying in it for the long haul. I mean, yeah, she made it 3 rounds, but still, like, I didn't really see that fight in her, like where she was trying to really, really, really go for it. Again, that probably was because of the neck, but we'll see, man. I hope her neck is okay because if not, everybody knows that could be a career-ending injury, right? So yeah, man. That was what I wanted to talk about with Bellator, man. Bellator, UFC veterans coming in there and just, putting the work on them, For the most part, Justine Keach did, just went in there and out-strength and out-muscle. But, Juliana Velasquez did hold her own in that fight. I think if it had went the distance, Juliana probably would have pulled it out. But again, I ain't going back to that. We ain't going to talk more about that. Let's go to the main event, though. Cris Cyborg, Arlene Blencowe, too. Good fight, good showing by Arlene Blencowe. Shout out to Anger Fist. I got to give her a lot of credit for going in there and doing what she did. Wanting to go back in there with Cyborg a second time when some fighters don't even want to do it a first time. Arlene Blencowe had the heart from the jump. 5 rounds with Cris Cyborg. Wow. I was like, wow. She didn't even win a round, but she just showed her heart because Cris was in there. Cris was in there fighting his patient fight and just, boxing smart, using her jab well, landing some beautiful right hands and just really cracking Arlene Blencowe. Arlene Blencowe did have her moments in this fight. When she would come over the top with the right hand and the left hook, she just didn't have no pop on her shots to really hurt Cris. Maybe if she went to the body a little bit more, she maybe could have came over the top with the right hand and maybe caught Cris off guard. Like, I think if she would have really started to let go and sit down on shots, maybe she could have hurt Cris. Like, if she would just threw her body and everything she had, because Cris was giving her a chance to just kind of stay in the fight. So the longer, somebody kind of stays in there thinking they're playing with their food, you have to take advantage of that, right? And Arlene did land some good shots. I don't know where that blood came from behind the ear on Cris, but yeah, Cris was bleeding. Arlene was bleeding, but they was in there slugging it out, man. Like I said, for the most part, Arlene, she did show a lot of heart and grit that I don't think a lot of these other featherweights have against Cris Cyborg. But who else does? Like, who else can do what she did? Like I said, she didn't really win a round, but this is Cris Cyborg. This is just her level. So I gotta say shout out to Arlene Blencowe. But from here, Cris Cyborg, I don't know, man. I don't really see anybody else in the division. Kat Zingano, if she wants this fight in the summer, might as well make it happen if she ever comes back. I can't really say if she really wants that fight because Arlene stepped up. She said, "I'll take it." Bam Bam said she would take it, right? But I haven't really heard that from Kat. I heard them on Twitter bringing up old news and stuff like that, but I haven't heard her say like, "Yeah, I want a straight up fighter." So we'll see. Kayla Harrison. That's about it. Like Kayla Harrison versus Cris. I mean, a lot of people think Kayla Harrison can do it, but I don't know, man. What would be the reaction of Kayla Harrison, eating one of these jabs or one of these right hands? I don't think she's ever been hit like this before. Yeah, she's big. Yeah, she's strong. Yeah, she's young, but has she ever eaten any shots like this? Like, this patient Chris Cyborg throws, this much more of a patient boxer and striker and, Muay Thai fighter, that can throw those push kicks and those front kicks to the face like that. You know what I mean? Like, has she ever eaten anything like that before? Or will she get it to the ground fast enough to out grapple and just like ragdoll Chris? Can she ragdoll Chris, right? Has yet to be seen. So maybe if they can come to an agreement, I think that's where I'm at really with Chris's career. Like, if she could retire now, I'd be like fine with it because there's really no competition for it. See for Rose Namajunas, there's a lot of competition. There's still a lot for her that she can accomplish. Valentina, I know a lot of people say, oh, there's no competition at flyweight, but with 6 title defenses, you still want to see her maybe see if she can hit 10. At the same time, there's these up-and-coming fighters like Taylor and Manon that could still put up a good fight with Valentina. I'm not as bored like that with her. I'm not bored with Valentina like that. But with Chris, there's really nobody that's been able to go in there and do it like well, I won't say like Amanda Nunes because, man, who's going to do that? That's Amanda, right? But nobody's been able to even like win maybe 2 consecutive rounds against Chris Cyborg. So it's like, what's next for her? Just Kayla. So if Kayla does her thing over here at PFL and beats Julia Budd, we just need a crossover, a cross-promotion thing, man. So they just really need to agree to that at 145 or 155, right? That's where I'm at with that now. So, yeah, man, moving on, though. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section about that, though. Moving on. Macy Barber, 3027 is Montana De La Rosa. Oh, wow. I don't know what I was thinking, man. Like, this was kind of like one of those fights where it's like Andrade Calvillo. Almost, but no. Yeah, I won't say it's exactly like that because Andrade is on another level than Calvillo. These two, Barber and De La Rosa, I said this, Barber and De La Rosa are on the same level in their own ways. They both have different things about them that kind of cancel each other out from getting where they need to be. It all came down to who improved the most or who was going to improve the most. And that's the only way you could pick this fight. It really was a pick 'em fight. Even though De La Rosa wasn't ranked, she still brought something to the table that could get her the win against Macy Barber and vice versa, right? But the thing is, somebody needed to make really, really good improvements in camp this time around, and they were going to be the victor. And that was Macy Barber. Like, this Macy Barber that you saw fighting in the clinch, fighting on the inside. I'm going to have to do a video on this, but, Macy Barber might have found her niche. You know what I mean? She was in there really scrapping it up and roughing up and bullying this big, tall wrestler, right? And that was the thing, we talked about the other day in the live stream. Shout out to Mark Robinson. We talked about just studying Montana De La Rosa and him feeling like, she wasn't like this great, dominant, mauling type wrestler, which, yeah, she wasn't. Like, the thing about her is when she gets to the ground and keeps it there, she's dangerous because she's always in those positions. She's good at that. Like, she's not really like a physical, tough, grueling type of fighter like some of these maulers out here. You know what I mean? Like Suarez. So with Macy Barber improving in the departments that she did, being that rough, rugged pressure fighter and clinch fighting and just showcasing her newfound strength, that's what she needed to do against Montana De La Rosa. And it worked. Montana Montana didn't have an answer for anything. I mean, Macy Barber didn't need a strike from the outside. She was a good inside fighter. I mean, she was pinning Montana De La Rosa up, fending off takedowns. She was rolling. She was grappling, showcasing her strength on the ground, pinning Montana De La Rosa up with one hand and just hooking her in the face with one, just beating her up, So I was really impressed. I was impressed that we saw this because Macy wasn't looking this strong against Grasso, or was Grasso just that strong? She didn't look this strong against Miranda either, So Macy really has been working, since we saw that picture of her that she put out where she was like ripped and, looking like she was on a good diet. Her S&C is really working, They really did it for her. I mean, we could talk about the fight a little bit. I mean, Barber, she was really showcasing her pressure right from the jump. She started backing Montana up after she punched her way in, using some nice angles. Just angled in on entry inside clinch, just really strong, controlling Montana. Montana definitely not used to somebody wrestling her like this. She's usually used to being the one going for takedowns, and that be it. But Macy was active, man. She was just working on the inside. She rocked Montana in the first round with a hard left hand, just with a hard, I think it was right hand, right? And then she was just pinning her up on the cage, landing these hard left hands in the clinch, just pinning Montana up. I mean, second round back in the clinch, Montana looked to get more control and get Macy down, go for the back. That was impressive, but it wasn't really impressive how when she got down and she was getting the back for the rear naked choke, Macy just stayed kind of crunched up on her knees. And eventually when Montana kind of rolled to her side, she was able to get on Montana and get in the guard and land some good elbows. So again, Montana showed that, Macy Barber showed that level of just like staying calm, cool and collected. And then as soon as she sees the openings, she pounces on it, right? So she definitely started fast in this fight. She definitely became the fast starter again. And then that third round, she just started landing some nice shots on the outside. Montana landed a few shots on the outside. Then, Macy was bringing that clinch fighting again. Said, nope, we staying right in here. I'm going to maul you. I'm going to squeeze you. I'm going to keep you pinned up and just keep you off balance so I can just keep hitting you with this free hand. And Macy just capped it off, picking up Montana and taking her down and just, landing some good knees to the body as well. I was just really impressed with this Macy Barber. Like I said, I don't dislike Macy Barber. I'm not like the biggest fan in the world like some fighters are, but I'm just measuring it by the level of all these other fighters that you've seen. And if she can improve like that and show those levels, then yeah, I'll definitely start rocking with you. I definitely will rock with the same way like I do Taylor and Manon. See, those fighters, you could already just see like another level in them, and they don't do a lot of talking. Like they're just trying to make their way up by letting their actions speak, and they have it like that. See, Macy got caught up in that hype in the first few fights, saying I want this, I'm gonna be the youngest champion, and so on and so forth. And then what happens, right? Your talk got ahead of your actions. But now her actions are here. She's got them. She's working. She's already stated in her post fight. She stated in her post fight that she's willing to just enjoy the journey and take the time that she needs, and that's what she needs to do. 23 years old. Why are you trying to chase Valentina right now? Like 23 years old, you're number 13, because you did beat an unranked fighter, so that's not necessarily going to knock you up to the 2 more spaces or anything. Why not just chill out? Why not just chill out, fight who's around you, and get that work in? The loser of Viviane Araújo versus Andrea Lee, that's a good fight. JoJo. Anybody up that part of the ranking that you can get the work in, that's going to help you improve. So, yeah, shout out to Macy on that note. But Montana De La Rosa, man, I was disappointed. I ain't going to lie. Like I said, not like a troll or anything, but just like I said, corner talk, watching the fight and how she approached it, I was just disappointed because I was like, she's got the tools, she's got the striking, but she just didn't have the speed. Like, she just didn't have the speed and the trigger, like I always say. Like, she just don't have the trigger finger to pull, and it goes back to what I said before. Like, I gave her a chance in this fight, but this is what I've been talking about different levels that you see in different fighters. Like, yeah, Manon hasn't been here in the UFC as long, but she surpassed that level by continuing to improve and just win. And that's what it is, winning and improving. Whereas Montana, she's winning on this lower level, but she hasn't done enough to beat fighters with this type of skill set that just, it's hard to describe, man. Well, no, it ain't. Like, focused fighters, let's put it that way. The focused fighters, they always go in there and get a win off of her. Like Viviane Araújo, Andrea Lee, the more focused, the more improved fighters, the ones that really, really believe in themselves. Now, I'm not saying Montana doesn't believe in herself, but I think it's kind of spotty at times where she's like in there, but then all of a sudden it's gone. It's in there, it's gone. It's in there, it's gone. And it only really thrives when it's in there with one of the lower level fighters, right? I'm just saying that off of what I'm seeing, right? So I just think that maybe she needs to switch up camps, go off and do, her with, who are some other camps out there? My mind's blanking right now. I think she needs to go in there and train with some good Muay Thai fighters and some strikers that also need help in wrestling. You know what I mean? I think it needs to be a give and take thing. She needs to work with the camp, maybe like I said, like her and somebody like Jan Janan. She works with Uriah Faber, something like that. Well, actually, that's Macy Barber's camp, right? Uh-oh. Or like Henry Cejudo, work with Wei Lee, that high level of a fighter where you can show them how to wrestle and they show you how to strike, right? The two of y'all can vibe off each other. Working with Trevor Whitman, working with Kamaru Usman, working with Rose Namajunas, fighters like that. If you want to get better, that's what you really have to work with, in my opinion. But yeah, this was just a good fight. It's not like anybody in this fight really has to go to that next level. I think Macy Barber, this was something to help her grow as a fighter, and we saw her grow. Montana still has a lot of work to do, I think, man. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I did pick Montana too. I was like, man, something kept telling me too. I was like, should I stick with Montana? I said, yeah, I think I will. I will on this one. But the next pick, man, last fight I want to talk about here. Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade. Wow. I think we all knew this fight wasn't going to go 5 rounds, but it was such a freakish way on how it ended, man. Like, it kind of reminds me of one of those animal shows in a way. Whenever you see like an anaconda, in the woods, you see it like in a pile of leaves where you can't see it in the pile of leaves, and maybe like one of those small Bengal tigers walks by it, or one of those, good sized deers walk by it, and all of a sudden, boom, it strikes them and it just wraps them up. And you're like, wow, how could it take something? How could that anaconda, even though it is big and long, it's still almost scary how it can take down something that dangerous and that powerful. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it was like watching. And not only that, like, it could take something down that big and powerful, but at the same time make it look so helpless and almost like it's afraid, right? That's kind of what it was like watching Andrade wrap up Amanda Lemos. Like, this big power puncher, very scary, power in both hands, knocking people out, right? All of a sudden she goes from controlling the distance to just getting locked up the minute that Anaconda sees that opening. And the look on Amanda Lemos' face, right? Just like the look on her face, like when she's got that head and arm choke on her, standing head and arm choke, like she just got her mouth open, like, and she's just pulling and pulling, and she knows it's over, but she's just got her, she's just waiting it out, taking the last few breaths of her life, right? That's what it's kind of like. So yeah, it was just one of those moments. Like, maybe if it was like a knockout on either end, I would have been like, whoa, that would have been something amazing too. But this one, it was just like a standing head and arm choke. Like, Jessica Andrade had no effort. She showed no, like, she showed, like, it was like it didn't even take. I've never seen it done before. Let me see, I'm at a loss for words because I'm looking at the playback right now, and the way Jessica Andrade does it, she just like scoops up under the right armpit and pushes Lemos to the cage, and then just calmly grasps her hands together, and she just starts squeezing. And then you look at the face of like Lemos, like mouth open, throat's getting crushed, and she's just squeezing and squeezing, and she just has nowhere to go. And then finally, the referee, he taps her in the back, and she just lets her go, and she falls down the seat of her pants. It's like, wow. It's like, whoa, So, like I said, I just never seen that done before. I know it's been done one other time in, mixed martial arts, period, but never in the UFC. That just shows you what kind of strength and power we've always talked about with Andrade that she possesses, right? And that's the thing that we always say. That's something I always know myself, and I always say with Jessica Andrade is like, there's a blueprint to beat her, but just know that the minute you're not fighting the perfect fight, she will close in and use something, whether it's the slam, the strength, it's going to be the power, right? Like, so you always have to be on your P's and Q's with her, the same way Joanna was in the Valentina. You got to take the fight to her and cancel her out. But the minute you don't, the minute she knows she has one free hand or, a free foot, she's going to knock you out, or, she's going to just squeeze you to death like she did in this fight. Like I said, I didn't see that coming. I could have seen a slam and a submission on the ground, but I didn't see this head and arm choke coming. But with that being said, like, Amanda Lemos was showing some good movement in there. She was showing some good success. I mean, I was enjoying those calf kicks she was cracking Andrade with. She was hitting with some hard calf kicks that were getting a reaction. So the power was there. Lemos had the power to hurt Andrade and possibly get her respect down into the second and third round, but it really just came down to her footwork, I think, man. Like, she sat down on her shots a little too much, I think, when she kind of threw her right hands off balance. Because to me, when you landed shots on Andrade, you kind of have to pepper her first. You know what I mean? Don't take the big shot till you know the big shot is clear. Like, until you see it is clear. You have to make sure you're in the clear to land something big on her and that she's not ready to pounce and she's in no position to get you back, right? That's what it has to be when you fight Andrade. Like, Lemos, I think she overcommitted to that right hand. And then, she kind of threw a wild. First off, yeah, she threw that wild, like, I won't say it was like a wild head kick, but it was like a kick and just a straight up kick where Andrade saw it coming. She tried to catch the foot. She backed up. And in the midst of backing up, instead of getting completely out of harm's way, she threw a right hand and lands it, but she gets scooped up by Andrade. Andrade, takes her to the cage and head and arm chokes her, right? So I think in that moment, when you know that you miss or you overcommit, you got to run from Andrade. You got to run. You got to run and reset. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, Andrade is Andrade. Everybody knows that this is the Hulk, so everybody knows that you're going to have to reset and rethink your game plan and reassess and start back over, jab, jab, leg kick, ooh, about to slip, run, move, because when she sees opening, she's going to get you, right? So, yeah, that's what it is with Andrade. I would still pick Amanda Lemos over a lot of the other strawweights just because I think that she still can bang with a lot of them. She still has a high IQ, I think. Well, I'll say she has a decent IQ. I won't say the highest IQ, but I definitely say she has very good striking. She's still a hard hitter, good leg kicks. This is just Andrade. And, if she gets hands on you, like I said, she will take you out. But I still think she has enough to go in there. Challenge Tecia Torres. We'll see how that goes. Ticia's still a veteran. Go in there and fight Michelle Waterson, Yan Xiaonan, Ebos, any of those fighters. She could still score wins over these fighters, right? So it's not over for her. I definitely ain't going to say she's overrated, overhyped. She's still better than I think a lot of people want to give her credit for. She's just been in there with two weird styles back to back. Andrade, Angela Hill, so awkward, hard to finish. Andrade, like I said, very dangerous. So there's still room for her in the game, definitely, because, she's bringing the power. Andrade, apparently, I looked at the UFC not Fight Pass, but UFC rankings website, and I don't see it updated, but word is Andrade is number 5 now. So with Andrade number 5, I think it's safe to say that, she is almost back in line to get that title shot. But she said it herself that she is not looking to try to get a title shot right away off of this win. She said, hey, if I win this fight, maybe one more fight and then a title shot. So I'd say Mackenzie Dern. I think she said the Joanna Whaley winner. So either one of those fights, to me, should secure her a title shot after Marina Rodriguez. Notice I said after Marina. A lot of y'all want to put her in there with Marina, but no, I want to see Marina go ahead and get hers first. So she can get number 3 in line if she can win one of those other fights, right? So we'll see. I like Andrade's improvements in this fight. She was very patient. Because let's be real, if she came in there running like she did against Karolina Kowalkiewicz or like Rose, she would have got knocked out. But she was very patient. Took a few leg kicks, and she just was really moving side to side, just waiting for an opening, and it came. So, yeah, that's what I want to see next for Lemos, like Torres, Yan Xiaonan, Waterson, somewhere along that line. And Andrade, I want to see her in there with Mackenzie Dern, Joanna Whaley winner. That's in a couple months as well. So, yeah. At number 5, though, man, she's done. She's showing her credibility. I mean, most UFC finish bonuses as well. Like, wow, she's been racking them up. Most wins in the WMMA, just so many different records. Now she just needs a belt to cap it off, right? So she's breaking records out here. She's breaking backs and records. Shout out to Andrade. So yeah, man. Final thoughts though. That's all I got for this episode. Like I said, this is just a post-fight episode. Anything else I want to talk about, you know how I do. I drop videos if I forgot something. Drop videos, and I do live streams as well. But you know, this podcast, it goes on to these other platforms. So make sure y'all subscribe to hashtag CB99 Talks on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Tuned In, all of that. So when you want to go in the car, you know, just pull up one of those platforms and pull up this show and listen from there. Or you can go to YouTube as well, Combo Breaker 99, either one. That's your choice. So yeah, y'all, final thoughts. Good weekend for WMMA all around. You know, had women all around, you know, just doing their thing. LFA, Bellator, UFC. I think WMMA will get bigger and bigger throughout the years, or as far as, you know, just more and more fans being more accepting of it. Like I said, I've always been into it a little bit more so than the men. I don't know why. It's just been a thing. You know, the women, I think they bring a fire to the sport that's needed. You know, they bring just as much action, and they work just as hard. You know, so I'm gonna continue to support them, continue to support the women, continue to do this channel and this show dedicated to them. Cheers to y'all, everybody that fought, all the women that fought this past weekend, and that's gonna fight next weekend, and so on. Cheers to y'all. What do we got? Invicta coming up May 11th, so y'all know I'm gonna do a fight companion for that to support the Invicta fighters as well. So yeah, y'all, like I said, make sure y'all subscribe to all those platforms, and, you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's been growing a little bit more. They be trying to slow me down, but it's still growing. Always enjoying chatting with y'all on lives as well. So keep on supporting. I'll keep on doing these. Combo Breaker 99. I'll see y'all for episode 89. Subscribe. Peace.